Let's revisit the future odds following the chase format announcement with our updated 2026 NASCAR Cup Series picks and predictions. All this and more. It's the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the States.
What's up, folks? Welcome to the Backroad. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock. Man, Seth, we are so close to the 2026 season. I can almost taste it. We got the playoff format down. The seats are set. Everything is all set up. And we're taking a look now at revisited championship odds as the Daytona 500 draws ever closer.
Oh, Elliot, I'm starting to, go to bed. I got my die cast underneath the pillow at night. I'm absolutely fired up for the clashing here just as early as next week, man. And then we have cars on the track officially for the regular season Daytona in just a couple weeks away from now. So really looking forward to it. Been sleeping peacefully on those die casts now that we do have some more future markets being released over the last couple weeks. So we'll take what we can get. Would still love some Xfinity Series gainers out there, please give us those. That would be great. But yeah, excited to break down what more odds and what more news we have to get to, my friend.
Yeah, man, really waiting for those O'Reilly and Truck Series odds. Hoping to bring those to you this week, but didn't work out that way. The books weren't so generous. So it's a good opportunity to revisit the Cup Championship odds because a lot has changed and more markets have come out now that the chase format that we talked about last week has officially been put out there. We know how the champion is going to be crowned and how that'll work into the regular season as well. So thankfully, a lot more Cup openings have been opened up. Before we get to that, of course, we'll go into the Fast Lap news, discussing the latest happenings in and around the sport. We'll do a horizon forecast, talk about the finalized open cars that'll be in the Daytona 500 field, and talk about some leans you could look for with those guys when Daytona hits in a couple of weeks. Then in our parking garage props, now that that championship format is finalized, we'll break down the numbers, break down some additional standings markets, and show you how the numbers have changed from pre-2025 end of the year, pre-chase championship odds to what they are now that the chase has been finalized. So lots to talk about tonight, and always lots to talk about over in the IBT family, always popping off throughout the day. Now that we have 4 different subsets for our big 4 of IBT. Of course, last year we opened up the racing family for Daytona. Really great year. Can't talk enough about how much fun that is. And this year, we opened up a free tier where you can join the conversation and enter into memorabilia giveaways. The first of 2026, we're going to debut next week. A little Shane Van Gisbergen action if you're a fan of the Kiwi. You can enter into that for free by just joining the chat.
Not the Wendy's car, by the way.
Not the Wendy's car. We figured that out. We'll have a night. We'll promote that a little more next week now that we know which diecast it is. But anyway, that's free. But if you're able to toss us that $3.99 a month or $36 for the year, $1 per race, and then you get the Clash and the All-Star race for free, 36 Cup points races. And that's not even talking about all the money you can make on the O'Reilly series and the Truck series. That's you pay the $1 a month for the Cup stuff, and then you get the Austin Green Road Course top 10s for free. How great is that? If you pay us, though, you get the exclusive weekly betting model, the Daytona model already out and ready to roll. Seth and I put our full weekly betting cards in the chat as well. And this year, the head-to-head matchups contest is going to be exciting. Last year, of course, was just the racing family. This football season, we cracked open the football family. Same across the board for all of our families. Free entry to join the conversation and enter memorabilia giveaways. But to get our picks and those models as well as the contests, you do have to pay. So there's the football offerings, the entertainment offerings. I know some really exciting stuff. A new Survivor 50 contest that just fired up over there. Maybe even today, if not this week, definitely. And then on the golf side as well, I know our guy Jake doing a lot of hard work over there, as well as everyone on the IBT side. So now, if you like racing, you're watching the show, you probably like racing. If you also like football, golf, and entertainment betting, the IBT family, Seth, is the place to be.
It absolutely is, man. And I like the one thing to just clarify to everyone, I've got a couple questions about it is, hey, if I sign up, if I join, am I getting all of these? Yes, like you get all of them. It's not a separate thing. There are separate categories. So if you're just into racing, just come and hang out in the racing family. You can get rid of the other stuff. You won't get notified for any of it. It will be there if you want it. But I've come to learn, Elliot, some of our most active DGens in the NASCAR betting streets are also active DGens, whether that comes to football betting, golf betting, or even entertainment betting. So it's kind of just one great tool to have across access to it. So very thankful for it. Very thankful for all the new folks and the returning folks who are coming back with us this season. Going to be a hell of a time once again.
Yeah, and that is important to clarify too. I know a lot of the young bucks will know how Discord works already, but
we did it.
Yeah, it's essentially, we've learned a lot about it too over the last year, that there's essentially 4 main channels: racing, football, entertainment, golf families, sub channels within those, where there's the main chat, there is where we put our picks, where the contests live,
models,
sub channels. So say you have no interest in entertainment betting, which is unfortunate. It's a lot of fun over there, but say you don't have any interest in it and you don't have those markets in your state. I know it's only in limited states. You can just mute that whole channel. You don't have to see any of it. I know that'll really disappoint Steve and Trash and all the people who put in hard work over there. But hey, if you can't bet it, you're not interested in it, go ahead and mute that, because I'm sure there are a lot of people on the football, entertainment, and golf side probably aren't looking at the racing too often. But anyway, important to clarify, all separate, but also all together. When you go to in-betweenmedia.com/chat, you can join there. We've had already a pretty successful playoffs contest over with prop decks. I know that's going pretty well, and lots of other fun things going on over there as well.
Yeah, I just need to win. Need to win some contests. I'm second in the touchdown call contest tournament in the wild card round, divisional round, 1 pick right. Not great, Elliot. So we're gonna keep swinging though, because that's what we do here at IBT.
Yeah, we just try to keep swinging that hot bat, and that's what we're going to do all of 2026 across all of those, especially on the racing side. Shout out as well to everybody in the live stream, in the chat here. Comment your picks and your best bets, your favorites, what you want to see during the 2026 season, what you hope to see, like our guy Marcus, who always wants to see Christopher Bell go out there and win 36 races. If I didn't say so already, shout out to everyone on the audio version over on Apple Podcasts, Talking West Tennessee, 101.5 FM, 8 o'clock Saturday nights. And, of course, everyone in the family, the links to all the fun in the episode description. The simplest thing you can do, though. All that aside, you like the content, give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, and subscribe. Not only do we have the main In Between Media channel, sub-channels now going to be branching out for all of our 4 main shows: Popcorn and Root Beer, the 19th Hole, the Backroad, and the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. All going to have their own separate places to live as well soon, where you can go back, look at old content, and kind of collaborate. If you want to see, again, if you want to see just the racing stuff, you can go to the Backroad sub-channel or collaboration, whatever you want to call it. Either way, that's where you can find some racing stuff a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely excited for it, man. A lot happening. We're taking some big swings here in 2026, man. Just like our friends over at NASCAR.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. All right, enough with the promo. Let's get into the content. We're going to start off tonight with Fast Lap News. We'll start off with a couple rules updates that have been put out by NASCAR in the recent days. Excuse me. The first one involves the Truck Series, and eventually will probably involve the Cup side, but has to do with Ram, the newest manufacturer, OEM, on the truck side. Of course, they're having a lot of fun. Tony Stewart's going to run. They have Butterbean in there. They have the whole TV show and everything. And they're going to be locked in to the race at Daytona, because for the first 3 races, there's a new OEM provisional that'll be in place, which essentially means if something happens that none of the Rams would qualify on speed for Daytona, they will get additional spots 37 through 40 in the field. So that could be extra fun, having potentially 40 trucks in that star-studded Daytona field that we'll talk about more in a little bit. But for Ram, some people in the industry, some of those Twitter folks that, they hide behind a little anonymous identity, but they say, hey, I used to work in the series and whatnot. They say maybe some of that equipment is not quite up to snuff on the colleague side. They're a little worried about it, so to speak. So something that will lock the Rams in for the first couple of races while they get their feet wet. Yeah, but thank you.
I like it, Elliot, right? I absolutely like it, because it encourages more manufacturers to also potentially come in the sport, like hi Chevy, right? Or hi Honda, we're looking at you, and for Ram, I'm excited to see them get their feet under them, and I think it's a great way to kind of bridge them into the sport and encourage more manufacturers to come.
Yeah, God, can you imagine if qualifying gets rained out or something, and you're telling me that none of the, your Daniel Dye, Brendan Queen, and Tony Stewart are not in the field for that Daytona race? That would not be fun whatsoever. A couple other rules things as well. They've scheduled out some of the tire tests for early in the season on the Cup side. They oftentimes we reference that data of who drove there and how things looked when we get to those races in the regular season. Currently, there are tire tests scheduled at Las Vegas, Chicagoland, Iowa, and Indianapolis. So quite a wide range there of tracks. I feel like Vegas we know pretty well. Indy we probably know pretty well. I feel like especially for Chicagoland coming back there for the first time and for the first time in the next gen, as well as Iowa, that data could be really important for when we get there in the summertime.
Yeah, you're always factoring this in, right? Like there is something to, and maybe it's something we start incorporating into our model, Elliot, kind of like how we give drivers different bonus points for, having good runs in Xfinity and truck at these tracks, that you incorporate it because it really does matter. And we've seen specifically at road courses as well for guys like Shane Van Gisbergen, new to the sport, that it really does affect them. And it seems like a lot of times when we get to the shorter tracks as well, especially when we're trying out different tire compounds, right? It's really going to matter, and it's really going to be beneficial to certain race teams to just give them a leg up.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Maybe a little bonus point in the model for, hey, you did the tire test here 3 months ago. You guys might have a better idea of at least how the car is going to start. One other thing that'll affect the points a little bit: cars that go to the garage during a race are no longer eligible for the fastest lap point. We saw Kyle Larson do this a couple of times. I think Josh Berry did it once as well, to where they knew they were done for, but they knew they could get back out on the track. They tweaked the car to a quality setup, got that fastest lap point. No longer eligible for that. I kind of like the chicanery of that, but it does make sense to not have those guys, if you end up in a bad situation, to mess with what you got going on and take things away from guys who are going to run all 100 laps.
Well, the points matter more than anything now, right? Like that is the come all be all. And I just think at the same time, like, what happens if you were out there just ripping a lap with your race setup and you lay down an absolute gainer and then someone does that? Like, that's super cheap, dude. So I'm glad. Good on NASCAR for preventing that.
Yeah, but it definitely will help. But hopefully it doesn't end up with somebody 1 point out of the chase where
Alex Bowman.
Yeah. Don't even start. All right, so we talked about that Daytona Truck Series field, and you even you unintentionally hinted at this last week when talking about some of the entries into the different series and wondering where some guys were, especially on the Cup side. Well, the Truck Series has another fun entry to the field. Travis Pastrana is going to drive in that truck race at Daytona in the Nice number 42. Just adds to that star-studded lineup where you'll have, again, Tony Stewart in the Colleague 25, Ricky Stenhouse in a Nice truck as well, Michael McDowell in one of the Spire trucks, and just lots of fun going on over there. And Travis Pastrana, a guy who knows how to have some fun behind the wheel and coming back for another round around the World Center racing.
Not only does he know how to have fun, whether it's in and behind the wheel of a cup car or a truck, but over at Nitro Circus, that guy's always having an absolute blast. And I think like the thing is though, like this guy's a legit racer, right? Like he's had races throughout different NASCAR series, and he's not half bad. He had that sensational run back in the day, if you remember, in the Daytona 500, Elliot. I think it was 2019. I want to say that was maybe early 2020 is when it was. Now thinking about it more clearly, but what was that, 2311? Is that who he ran that for that year?
Yeah, I think that was 2023. I think that's even more recent than you think. It may have even been 24, but it was within the last couple of years. The Black Rifle 67, he ran top 10.
Yeah. I can't remember, honestly. Everything post COVID, kind of just sticks together.
And Travis has done a lot too. I mean, I remember back 15 years ago when he ran from Michael Waltrip Racing and Roush on the Xfinity side, or now the O'Reilly side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that, honestly, like our boy Full Tank with Phil put it out on X earlier today. Like, hey man, if there weren't more reasons to watch this truck race, and I said it last week too, that like I'm kind of more excited for the truck race than I am the 500 right now. So like this is the type of stuff we need, because this is the type of week that Speed Week and Daytona really is. So excited for it, man. Excited to see old TP back in the seat, man.
This would be a great race if they ever were going to give us truck top 10s. Give us truck top 10s. And parlay all these guys together.
Let's go.
Give me a Pastrana, Smoke, and Stenhouse top 10 parlay of the truck. I'll tell you what. Lots of silly season stuff in general going on as well. Burt Myers will be back in the Amerivet number 50 for the Clash. Of course, a typical Bowman Gray modified guy who's won championships, a lot of races over there. Gets another shot at it. Tony Uri Jr., of course, a guy well known in the NASCAR circle,
Yeah.
going to be the crew chief there. I was kind of hoping when Keselowski was going to be out for the Clash that they would have given a Tim Brown or a Burt Myers a shot in that seat, but he'll be back attempting to make the main event there. On the O'Reilly side, Ross Chastain adding to his O'Reilly schedule. He'll run 4 races in the Jordan Anderson number 32 to go along with his JRM number 9 starts. And like we talked about last week, just one of those shots. Ross Chastain going to be one of those guys that is going to race every possible race that he can.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who we've called him wheelman in the past. That's really what he is. So, you know, this was certainly something, right? You know, this is certainly something like who was he running with before he was running all the JRM when he was going down in the Xfinity? Like, I feel like it was also kind of a chauncier team. But Jordan Anderson, like, it's not half bad, but like, can't blame the guy for wanting to be out there to rip something around, right?
Yeah, I know he did a lot of races for DGM.
There you go. DGM.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he even won a pole maybe in like 2021, won a pole at some random track.
Yeah, he might have.
So either way, Ross is a wheel man and he wants to be behind the wheel as much as possible. And one of those, you know, the outright odds will certainly be better for him when he's in the 9 than when he's in the 32. But I wouldn't rule out a little Ross top 5 depending on the track. I think his first race in the 32 will be the first Atlanta Echo Park race, second race of the year. So definitely can get a little sporty there. Talking Truck and ARCA now. Truck has some part-timers finalizing their schedules now. The Spire number 7 is going to be multiple drivers this year. So will their second truck probably. Connor Mosack is locked in a dozen races there. Starts with St. Petersburg. Of course, he's a big-time road course ace.
Yeah.
Multiple road course top 5, top 10 finishes there. Down in the trucks as well, Tony Breitinger out at Tricon will run 8 races in a second Rackley War truck. Number 27, going to be teammates with Dawson Sutton there. Not sure if they're going to run anybody full-time in that truck, in that Tricon number 5. Mm-hmm. Could be a fun landing spot for some young drivers kind of out of a ride.
Or Corey Heim? Is that who you're alluding to? Or
maybe Heim, maybe even Nick Sanchez. I mean, he got bought out of his O'Reilly Series ride. Yeah, that's just speculation, but it could be a little match made in heaven there. Really good truck opens up. And good for drivers like that who maybe don't have the greatest of upside, but able to get some rides and have a good time. And talking about people maybe without a lot of upside, Hailie Deegan is back in stock car racing. She'll run the full ARCA West schedule in the McAnally number 16. I think she had been there in the past as well. Went to open wheel, went to this, that, and the other, circling back around to stock car racing now. And really, it's the only shot left she has to have any sort of career here. You got to go out there, win races, contend for this ARCA West title, because that's not the National ARCA Series. They also have the East and the West. Of course, They run separate schedules. They run some combined races, whatnot. But it's a series and it's a schedule and it's a piece of equipment that Hailie Deegan should be contending for wins if she wants any hope at a stock car career or a racing career in general. Because clearly, Indy Next last year did not work for her.
No, and I think this is kind of the right move, right? I mean, we've seen it with Cup drivers. You take 2 steps down, you go back to the Truck Series to start. We saw John Hunter and Nemechek do this, right? And then you go back to, like, you just completely reboot. And she's kind of doing that, but from a truck, she's going to ARCA, and then below ARCA, you have the ARCA West and the ARCA East. So that's kind of what she's doing here. I think this is the right path forward for Hailie Deegan. And like this chick is tough, man. Like she's tough. She's sticking it out, and I gave her a lot of credit, man. I know she takes a lot of shrapnel on the internet, and you know, sometimes with her performance on the track, like rightfully so. But like when it comes to women in NASCAR racing, like we want to see more of them. We want to see them succeed. So whether it's Hailie Deegan, whether it's Tony Brenninger, or all the great females that are kind of coming up through the ARCA series right now in general, it's just great to see. So hopefully Tony and Hailie can kind of use this opportunity in 2026 as kind of a stepping stone, right? Let's get back on track here. And, you know, whether it's them or whether it's all these talented young females in the ARCA series right now, I think we're going to be set at one point to have some really good women in NASCAR. So hopefully we can see eventually. I mean, we'd love to see the next Danica Patrick, and not to compare anyone to her, Elliot, but you know what I mean? Like, see one of them back in the Cup Series one day would be sensational.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Definitely wish them all the best of luck. And at least Hailie Deegan has won races at the ARCA. I forget if it was East or West, but she's won at that level before. So going to be expecting to do the same in some good equipment. We know McAnally has run really well in the trucks the last couple of years. And now Hailie Deegan back at the ARCA regional level, at least. That'll be fun to watch. What else is going to be fun to watch? Of course, the Daytona 500 and all the pomp and circumstance there. The open entries, of course, is the most interesting qualifying of the year. Let's break down who's going to be fighting for those open spots in the Horizon forecast.
Let's fire it up.
So, of course, you'll have the 36 chartered cars, and that does include 2311 and Front Row Motorsports again. Signed the charter deal, confirmed 2311 has signed the new charter deal that they fought in court for, and all the other teams going to follow suit shortly after. So they're all locked in. But in terms of open entries, you're going to see some guys miss this race. Jimmy Johnson is not going to be one of them. Again, he's locked in through the open exemption provisional. He'll be the 41st car in the field. Of course, he can start anywhere from P1 to P41, but he'll be that extra car in the field. In terms of the other 4 entries, there'll be right now 8 drivers fighting for them. We'll start with somebody who is just locked in their entry list, I guess, position. Just earlier this afternoon, it was announced Chandler Smith is going to run for Front Row Motorsports in the number 36 car, a 4th car for them. Smith, of course, has tried to make the Daytona 500 last year with the 66, had a decent piece, ended up in a crash, didn't make the race. But Smith, a guy, stepped back down to the trucks, won a couple of races, and a guy who's got some talent and is going to give it his best shot in a better piece than he had last year to qualify for a Daytona 500.
Yeah, we'll see Chandler Smith, man. He always has speed when we come to these super speedways in the Cup Series and, kind of being out of his element a little bit. But it usually just has not ended gracefully for him, right? So let's see what he has here in the 36. Do you think this is more of, hey, I have the funding, I want to run this race, more than Front Row really looking to get a 4th car out there? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time we've ever seen a 4th car out there for Front Row, and just kind of surprising to see that based on what we learned during the lawsuit trial.
Yeah, first time in a long time, but it's one of those where if you can get in the Daytona 500, even if everything goes haywire, payout for P40 is still pretty good. And so just having the prestige of being on the grid is always super important. And that was the biggest thing last year for our next entry. Justin Allgaier back in the number 40, Traveler Whiskey coming back on for the Junior Motorsports entry. For Dale Jr. and Allgaier and that crew, it was just getting into the race that was so important. They ended up finishing P9 in a pretty damaged car, getting involved in some of the wrecks there, but able to miss him just enough to still run pretty well. They're, like I said, they're running it back. And Allgaier, a guy who's got some talent for this. We know Dale Earnhardt Jr. does. And this one will hurt if they end up missing the race in a lot of ways. But Dale Jr. would have it no other way. Justin Allgaier would have it no other way. You got to earn your spot in the most prestigious NASCAR field of the year.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And he's someone I think who could honestly potentially qualify for an open exemption. Like he is a NASCAR champion in the Xfinity series. He's, just absolutely been a stalwart for this organization in Junior Motorsports, but it's cool they have to race their way in, right? Like Junior wouldn't want it any other way. Like this is the Earnhardt blood, man. And, blood, sweat, and tears that went to Junior and went into this organization from him and Kelly. And Justin's their guy, and great to see Chris Stapleton kind of back in action with him as well. Sickest paint scheme out there. Definitely the car I continue to rip in the Cup Series out there in the NASCAR 25 online streets, Elliot.
Yeah, I do kind of like last year's car a little better than this year's personally, but I do appreciate the throwback feel, the throwback merch out there. Definitely be a fun one. And both the Front Row and JRM cars, they're going to expect to make it because they know that they have a little bit better pieces behind them than some of these other teams. It starts with JJ Yaley, the number 44 for NY Racing, coming back around again. One of the cars that missed last year, but ended up in a lot of races last season, though still. We know Yaley's a good driver, well-rounded, has been around forever. Ran, I forget if he made it to the B main, but he was up at the front at the Chili Bowl, has a Chili Bowl all-time record for most A mains run through. This guy can race anything. He's a good enough driver to get even a car that's a little more underfunded, a little behind the pack into the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does, especially in those dual races, man. You pick the right lane at the right time, you can get up there. Unfortunately, JJ has kind of been on the outside looking in at a couple of these as of late, but he is the type of driver that you want racing in that duel. Like he's the type of guy that makes it fun, because even if he makes it in, it's a great story for him. It's a great story for NY Racing. And dude, like JJ has just been such a veteran of the sport, and like he's been running absolute turds for the last like good 6-7 years out there. So like you just gotta respect a guy who, like our BJ McLeods of the world, just loves racing, loves being at the track, man, loves the smell of rubber burning and gasoline in the air, my friend.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. And we've seen this piece make it into the 500 before. 2022, Greg Biffle raced the 44 car into the Daytona 500. Maybe even on speed, maybe didn't even need the duels, but either way, a car that has the capability to make it in the race. Just as Beard Motorsports does, the 62 of Anthony Alfredo confirmed to be coming back. Beard for the last 7 or 8 years pretty much have just done the super speedways. Brendan gone for a while. You had Gregson, Austin Hill, and now Anthony Alfredo has taken it the last couple of years and has looked pretty sporty. We know that the 62 car comes to run as well as they can and make it into the show at the super speedways. And one of those guys that, I know NY Racing, I know your BJ McLeod and stuff like that. This Beard car can get kind of sporty on these super speedways, regardless of the driver.
It can, I used to dunk on him sometimes, call them the money laundering scheme, but honestly, like they've put together a pretty nice ride the last couple of years. Yeah. And Anthony Alfredo is like a legit guy to do it with, right? Like this guy is honestly a pretty good super speedway racer. We specifically see him show up a couple times a year with top fives in the Xfinity series. And he's no man to miss, a top 10 here and there in the Cup Series when he gets on a super speedway as well. So yeah, Alfredo Fast Pasta back at the World Center racing. I'm in for it here, Elliot.
And with the 62 Beard car, how can we forget Parker Retzlaff's top 10 run, 2024 Daytona summertime race? Heck of a run there.
Yeah, I think that's when I started respecting them a bit more because like they did have that run with Gragson, right, when they were top 5, top 10 range. But the one with Parker was increasingly impressive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's been neat to see Carl Long fully embraced being back in NASCAR the last few years. A guy who back in the late 2000s had such a hefty fine levied against him that he couldn't race for 10 plus years in the NASCAR garage, has come back, has put out efforts every single year to go out there and run a few races with what was known as MBM, now on the Cup side known as Garage 66. And starting last year, he's brought back Casey Mears into the fold, a guy who had some Cup success in the late 2000s. He'll run the 66, try to enter the Daytona 500 for that team. And another one of those, definitely a little underfunded, but with Chandler Smith last year in the duels, they were running in a pretty good spot early. Mears definitely has the talent. He's a veteran of the sport, a guy who's gone out there and won Cup races before. Coca-Cola 600 winner, Casey Mears, back in 2007. So a respectable driver, respectable owner, and a team that would definitely be a feel-good story if they were able to make it into this race.
Man, I love Casey Mears. Like almost every Sunday, my dad would call me if he wasn't there with me and he'd ask, hey, who's going to win the race today? I would be allowed to give him 2 names. Every week, I'd usually pick a big gun, Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, maybe occasionally I'll throw a Jimmy or a Junior out there. The second pick was always like a Casey Mears or an Elliott Sadler. Those were like my 2 like 1B guys, just the scrappy guys, the underdogs you're going to kind of root for, occasional little David Reagan action. So I've always enjoyed Casey Mears. It's good to see him kind of getting back out there, stretching the legs. And he was also like always the guy. Like we had this like little, it was almost like a yard sale, but it was like a yard sale like 365 days a year in like some woman's like almost like a secondary house next to her and like a garage. And they'd always get different NASCAR stuff in there, whether it was die cast or action figures, you name it. And like it was always Casey freaking Mears, man. It was always Casey Mears. And I was like, God dang. Like I'd love a little Jeff Gordon or Mark Martin action, but I'm out here ripping a Casey Mears action figure for $3.99.
Hey, no problem there. A lot of merch made in his early career. Of course, a few years with Chip Ganassi and a couple of their cars, and 2 years with Hendrick Motorsports. Even ran that Jack Daniels 07 for RCR a little bit. So a guy who's been around the block and really seems like he's enjoying his time back in NASCAR. All right, the next entry I don't think is official yet, but it would be really shocking if Corey Heim was not entered in the 67 with 2311. Bob Pockrass has said he's expected to run 10 or more Cup races in 2026. Now that everything is sorted out there, it's a crime that he won't have a full-time ride in any series, at least as of this moment. But 2311 going to enter him in a whole bunch of Cup races, including here at Daytona, and get him ready for what, fingers crossed for him and probably for 2311 too, will be a full-time Cup ride into 2027.
I'm just gonna like call out all the Big J journalists in this space. Like, first of all, I trust Bob Pockrass is reporting for like expected 10 plus Cup Series races. That's great. But like, there needs to be a dive in what's going on with Corey Heim's career right now, Elliot. I mean, this is arguably one of the most talented truck series drivers we've ever seen, and he doesn't have a full-time ride for this next year. And like, I get this happens from time to time, but like, is this a management issue, right? Like what's going on? How can this guy not be bringing in more sponsors? He's likable. He's great on the mic. He's just a sensational race car driver as well. So it's a tragedy. And I wouldn't be shocked if he misses his race just because like of how things are going for him, right? When it rains, it freaking pours, as Luke Combs told us, right? So I don't know, man. I'm nervous. I would love to see him out there, give us one of those feel-good Corey Heim moments of the year that we're desperately going to be lacking.
Yeah, and I think with Heim, trust me, I would love a good old-fashioned deep dive into it. But there was a rivalry there with Ty Gibbs when they were coming up through the field. And it's to the point where things really seem like that Heim would not be, eligible, so to speak, for a Joe Gibbs racing ride because he and Ty Gibbs don't get along. So when you sign with Toyota and you can't really drive for Gibbs, it freezes you out of a lot of opportunity there. Of course, Tricon funded by Toyota. Yeah. It's Gibbs, but it's separate. And then 2311, of course, supported by Gibbs, but run by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. A couple of guys who can see talent when they're there. And for Corey Heim, if his only goal was, I want to get to the Cup Series as soon as possible, 5, 6, 7 teams would drop probably any or all of their drivers.
Yeah.
Corey Heim. But Corey Heim knows that with what he's had, with what he's built, his best opportunity to go win races basically as soon as possible and to put himself in the best situation for long-term, career longevity is to be with 2311. Bubba Wallace probably going to be there the next few years. Tyler Reddick as well. Their third driver, maybe not quite as good, and maybe where Corey Heim knows he can outperform and end up in that seat.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully as soon as 27 for him and for 2311, because again, no major disrespect to the driver of the 35, but Corey Heim probably could run a little more competitively than he could.
I mean, I'll look it up to verify, but I would take a bet that Corey Heim at least has one Cup Series top 10 to his record since being with 2311 and half the races that we've seen Riley Herbst run. Like, that's all I'm going to say. Riley Herbst had 0 top 10s, Ellie. That's terrible.
Yeah, had no top 10s in the 2311. I think in one of those part-time races with Front Row, he ended up with a top 10. So that gives hope to Chandler Smith, those Front Row extra cars. A little sporty on the super speedways, but you're right. To run a full season last year for Herbst in a 2311 car, I think his best finish was 13th. Didn't even get an 11th, not anywhere close to the top 10. Definitely was disappointing. But in any case, Corey
Heim, one top 10, one at Bristol, finished 6th last year. That's pretty freaking good,
that's
man.
That's right, and I think that was
38.
That was probably in the fall race when the tires were a little messy, right? So that shows some racing talent, taking advantage of the right situations. But Corey Heim is not worried about that. Corey Heim is worried about, I want to make it into the Daytona 500, just as everybody on this list is, including BJ McLeod, still rolling out there with the Live Fast number 78. Made a bunch of money on his charter a couple of years ago, goes out, runs, has fun when he can. Probably his most fun moment last year, getting to run a Spire truck at Charlotte. Finish didn't go so well. Didn't work out for my top 5 bet that I had on him in that 07 truck. But BJ, again, just one of those old school racers, liked by everybody in the garage. And again, another feel-good story if he's able to make it into the race.
Yeah, love Team Live Fast, man. Excited to see them back at the track. Question for you. Did BJ McLeod cash out too early? Because I remember at one point we were like, he cashed out at the right time. Now he might have cashed out a little too early looking back, but I mean, it was such a gamble, right? But maybe
he didn't. He was able to live fast. He didn't have to live through the drama of the loss. Take the money and have a good time. All right. So again, all due respect to every one of the open cars in here, but I do think if any of them have a shot to win the race, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but if any of these open cars have a shot to win the race, it is Corey LaJoie running a 4th RFK car. The 99 is back in the hands of Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. Corey LaJoie going to run a Trimble number 99 in the Daytona 500. And something else, before we even get to LaJoie, all 4 of the Roush cars, as well as the number 16 a colleague, all going to run the Greg Biffle font in the Daytona 500. Really, really cool.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that for, what the Biff did for this sport and just humans in general. So glad to hear that. Glad to see Corey LaJoie back out here in a ride, man. I mean, this is a guy who was mixing up last year, right? Like, I think you and I and really the entire betting industry really disrespected this guy coming into those first couple races last year. And hey, he put up, man. So now he's in arguably the best equipment of his career for at least a race. Let's see what the kid has, right?
Yeah, really cool opportunity for him. Of course, he'll sub in the 6 in the Clash, but RFK and the Clash go together like oil and water. Daytona for LaJoie, a much better opportunity. You talk about a guy leading the Daytona 500 late last year in a Rick Ware car, and you talk about a guy almost winning races 2, 3, 4 years ago in Spire cars back before Spire had the respect that they have now. This kid's going to have a shot, and it will, it could really do things for him if he's going to win the Daytona 500, which is why, he's got all his pennies in the center of the table for this. He's not worried about the trucks. He's not worried about anything else. He wants to go win the Daytona 500, and he's got his best shot. I mean, one race in the 9 car, subbing for Chase Elliott at Gateway didn't go so well. This is probably a better opportunity. Roush at Daytona, probably better than Hendrick at Gateway.
Look, man, he's found his lane, obviously. He's pretty electric on those pre and post shows with Amazon, right? Like, if he's going to make a healthy living doing that, doing his podcast and running a couple Cup Series races, a couple Truck Series races here and there, like, more power to you, man. Like, I think he's right where he wants to be at this point. Like, I definitely questioned some of the moves last year, and I think you did as well. But glad to see he's kind of found his lane here. And if it's out here, ripping in a 99 for our RFK there at the granddaddy of them all, I'm here for it, Corey LaJoie.
All right, so in terms of those 8 open cars, that might be all that we get. Rick Ware says they're not running a second car. RCR probably not going to put one in the field for Austin Hill this year. So of these guys, that's 8 open cars between Smith, Allgaier, Yaley, Alfredo, Mears, Heim, McLeod, and LaJoie. Only 4 of them can make the race to fit into that section there. So the duels and the pole qualifying are going to be fun. Usually how it goes is 2 of them get in on speed, and then you have 2 of them in from the duels, the highest finishing. You can fall back on your speed if you're not one of the highest finishing, but it's the 2 highest finishing and then the 2 on speed. So it's not just can you run well in the duels. For 2 of those guys, it'll be how fast can you go in that pole qualifying, which is now Wednesday night, I believe, the night before the duels. As it's been the last couple of years, they don't do it Sunday before anymore, especially now that it used to be, the Bud Shootout or the Busch Clash would run on Saturday night, pole qualifying on Sunday, and then the rest of the events of the week. Now they do it a little differently.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that, Elliot. And man, the Daytona 500, like I put the bird calls out a couple weeks ago, right? I was like, where is this going? Like, what's going to happen here? And we're starting to get it. So really excited for that, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Daytona going to be a lot of fun. The Clash next week going to be a lot of fun. But we got to talk about championship odds first. Before we do that, we want to shout out one of our partners, Seth.
Yeah, Elliot, if you want to go ahead and hit this read, I'm going to queue up what's coming next.
Hey, man, that works for me. So shout out to our partners here at WannaParlay. They create fun and exciting competitions that connect people. When WannaParlay embodies the joy of winning, the heartbreak of almost winning. We get that a lot on the NASCAR side, and all the other emotions that you'll experience during competition. From the brains of 2 former Kansas State college football players, it's all about stacking legs, competing with real sport lovers like you and I, and getting real cash wins every day. You can big time multiply your money and cash out fast. I'm sure you're ready, Seth. We've been ready. Are you ready to get in the game and flex those parlay legs? You can download the app now for iOS and Android. You get a 100% match bonus when you use the code IBT at sign up. The code IBT, just those 3 letters you see right there on your screen, that is a 100% match bonus at WannaParlay. Just like all the other fun that we've got going on. The link to that can be found in the episode description. Shout out, of course, to all our partners, and a special shout out tonight to WannaParlay.
Yeah, dude, they're always putting in the good work over there, stacking them legs. Let's see K-State make a little run this next year too. Shout out to them. What do you say?
You guys would love it.
Yeah, let's go, man. What do you say that we go ahead and fire up a little parking garage props with the new drop? I will say I like the new drop. I do miss the old one for old time's sakes as well. Though.
Hey, we'll forever miss the music, but I think we did need a little refresh. The intro going to get a refresh as soon as possible here. The drop's getting a little refresh as well. Let's go ahead and put her in park for the parking garage props. Hey, we even were able to get a little bit of Pocono love in there. So we got to love that for sure. Yeah. All right. So first, before we look at what the odds are now. Let's look back. I think this was maybe a month and a half ago or so. We looked at the Cup Series championship odds. This is pre-chase announcement. These are old odds. I put that on there a couple different times. These odds don't exist anymore. They're not out there. So it started Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin at 5-1, Blaney Bell Byron 6-1, Elliott Briscoe, and for some reason Zilisch at 10-1, Logano Reddick 16-1, Chastain was at 25-1, Barry Wallace Hocevar 30-1, Busher Bowman Gibbs 40-1, Cindric Keselowski, Busch, and Priest 50-1, SVG at 150-1. Everyone else was 250-1 or more. So that was an odds board that I feel like made a lot of sense for the time, where you have, of course, your favorites, but you have a little more room for some guys to go and pull off the upset, which kind of, Chastain at 25-1, even Reddick at 16-1. Definitely, Hocevar, Bowman, Gibbs, Cindric, anywhere in the 30 to 50-1 range, showed that upset potential.
Yeah, I mean, I was more looking at some of these gainers. Like, I was looking at SVG down there at 150-1 and know that he closed closer to the start of the playoffs, like 26-30-1. Like, that's where my eyes were going. But now with the new format, definitely something I'm not looking at. But like, yeah, you even looked at these other drivers who could potentially win a race and get themselves in the playoffs, like an Austin Cindric, a Brad Keselowski, of course, Chris Buescher, and really that whole 40-1 tier with a Bowman and a Gibbs. It's like, who do you believe in that tier? So like, there was some value. There were definitely some questionable numbers, like a Connor Zilisch at 10-1 was a bit much, right? But overall, I thought they did a nice job. I thought there was some value on the board, and definitely going to shake things up as we look at what we're dealing with these days.
Yeah, so let's pull up the new odds now, looked at earlier today from Caesars. They're the new ones. And for a lot of the front runners, the odds get shorter. So there's the top three odds, the top three market. We do have a championship one if we got it in the can there. If not, we can pivot to the top three.
Yep. I got you. A little out of order here on the background tonight.
I like that. I like the style. The wood table background there. Look, it's very backroady. I really enjoy it, but I understand from a production side, you got three graphics that kind of look exactly the same. There's our current championship odds, courtesy of Caesars, and we got to start with Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, the champion and the should have been champion of 2025. They are the front runners in 2026. And again, they were both 5-1 previously. Their odds have now gotten shorter, plus 450, plus 475. Still moderately attractive, even though they were a little shorter than they used to be.
Yeah, if I'm taking any of them, I guess it's Denny at plus 475, but it's just so short, right? It's so short for a season that is so long. I feel like now, like especially with the 10 race chase. So I get it. If you want to ride it, you ride it all night long, right? Just like how they do in Life as a Highway out there with Rascal Flats. And I think you put multiple units down. I think you try to wait for a boost though. Like again, these sports books, once we get out of football season, once we get a couple weeks past the Super Bowl, they're going to throw out some any sport boosts and try to get you to bet on God knows what. Don't bet Toledo to win the MAC for 2 units this year. Go bet this. That's when you put that boost on like a Kyle Larson and you get him like an 8-1 or a Denny Hamlin 9-1. Elliot, that's how I would be betting those heavy favorites, in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to be real confident in these guys over this chase format and over the full season points to throw down that number. Definitely a lot to ride, and still a lot to ride too for the next tier. Christopher Bell, William Byron, they were both at 6-1 now at 5-1 and 5.5-1. So the top 4 guys, the odds got shorter. The first guy whose odds got longer, Ryan Blaney, up from 6-1 to plus 625. Shocker. The guy who normally, if you made it to Phoenix, was going to be your favorite. Now that it's not down to 1 race at Phoenix, and Penske, typically a little behind Gibbs and Hendrick in terms of a full season or a 10 race deal. Of course, we're going to be full season points leading into the top 16, making the chase as we discussed. Does make things a little longer for a guy in a team who previously really put all their chips in that Phoenix bucket. You get there and we'll be fine. You got to run all 10. You can't just bank on Phoenix this time.
They definitely did, and they put themselves in like win and get in situations. But I also feel like at the same time, how many times would Ryan Blaney open up like a new round and he would just like his car would blow up or he would get wrecked out by someone who had no business wrecking him out? Like, so at least now he doesn't have that, where if he has a bad race or two, he has time to course correct. So I actually don't mind. Again, this is a number plus 625, a little short for me. I still remember the year that we cashed Ryan Blaney 12-1. championship future. I don't know if we'll ever see that type of number again, but a kid can dream, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'd love that number for Blaney now. Next, we got to talk about the chases. Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, the next two on the board. And the way they move makes a lot of sense to me. Chase Elliott goes from 10-1 to 9-1. The guy who the playoff format, of course, champion in 2020, but the rounds in the playoff format didn't necessarily play to the 9-team strengths where they can go on some heaters, get some consistent runs, even without the wins. Now being able to have that full season points matter a little more and really put those first 26, put you in a better spot for the 10. A guy who is better at the full season, full season stretch like Chase Elliott is, makes sense he's a little lower. For a guy like Chase Briscoe, of course, last year was awesome. Great year for him, really put him on the map. But we haven't seen him do it over a full 26, 36, even a full 10 race stretch there. So his odds going from 10-1 to 11-1, a little further up, that checks out for me as well.
Yeah, that totally makes sense for me when it comes to both Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe. Like 11-1 still is like not a bad number on Chase Briscoe. I just threw an absolute gainer on his season win total at -150. So I think I'm just going to ride with that for him in the future market. But 11-1, I don't hate for that. And like 9-1 feels short for Elliott, if we're being honest, right? Like it's a guy who I don't see many 55 points days coming for him, right? I see one or two. He is, bad consistent though. So maybe he can get there. But I feel like we really need to see him kind of maximize those top 5 runs. And to do that, he can't qualify like he's running in a Rick Ware car every single week.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong with Elliott, that does make a lot of sense late in and how things were last year. But for Chase, it's the playoff format was a little different for him. He's a guy who can roll at that consistency. The point I was trying to get to was there may not be a lot of 55-point win days with stage points, but you throw in some stage points to get him a top 5 run, you got some 48, 49, 50 1-point days. If he can get into the chase in a good spot and really rattle off a really good 10 races, he's got a shot, but he will need to win some races. The anecdote, of course, that I brought up last week, Steve Letarte and Jeff Gordon, 2007, their average finish was like 5th in the chase. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Johnson won about half those races, and it didn't matter what he did in the other 5. The wins still got you enough points. So the wins, something Briscoe did more than Elliott. The Briscoe number definitely a little more valuable than
I agree,
especially if you like Gibbs over Hendrick, which I know some people do. With Logano and Reddick, their odds stayed the same. They were 18-1 before. They're 18-1 now. They're kind of the last two that I feel like have a realistic shot at winning the title. If you think that Logano can once again adjust to a new format, master it, really have the consistency that he hasn't had the last couple of years, it's not bad. For Reddick, you're also going to have to bet on, the consistency is there for Reddick, but not able to win last year and had more rough moments last year than he had in the last couple. But again, these are guys that at an 18-1, I'm probably not betting, but you can see a path to winning a title in their best years.
You can. It feels like the window for Joey Logano closed a bit, to be honest with you, though, Elliot. And like I'm the guy who's been out, and you as well, who've been out here kind of defending those titles. Like he earned them, right? He definitely did. But we also can't look past the fact that he did definitely capitalize on the 3-race format, right? So I think if anything, I think Joey Logano staying at 18-1, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. I think he should be closer to 20, 21-1 at this point. Reddick, I'm fine with because it does give him more of a 10-race sample size as a guy who has made a very, very deep run in the NASCAR playoff before as well. So I'm cool with it at 18-1. Joey Logano, though, I just think the value's kind of been sucked out of him, at least at this 18-1 number at Caesars.
Yeah, Logano is going to be one of those guys. And Reddick, too. You're going to have to really nail the format and really get hot at the right time. I mean, we would see this with Jimmy Johnson, rattle off a couple wins early, get consistent finishes, make sure you're in a spot to be in a comfortable spot. If Logano can really start hot and really experiment over the summer like the 48 team would do and get ready to be as hot, red hot in those last 10 races, you got a shot. But I agree, Logano, the previous format definitely worked better, and Reddick has a lot to prove in terms of what to do over a full season.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Elliot's really the next guy that oh my God, I'm grinning from ear to ear to see this number out there right now.
I mean, the number's a lot better than it was. It was 10-1 for Connor Zilisch, the lone rookie in the year. Definitely an enigma. Now up to 22-1, which is still a number that I'm not even anywhere close to touching. He's not going to win the championship. I feel like if he makes the chase, it's a good year for Zilisch. You don't have the win and you're in anymore. So if he's able to beat SVG on a road course, it doesn't lock him into the playoffs. and just having that consistency over a full 26 races. Like I said, it's going to be a victory for him to get into the chase. So having him at any sort of championship number like this, I'm still not anywhere close to a Zilisch title future this year.
Oh, but there's nothing else in the market to really get invested with him in right now. So it's like until we see a Trackhouse team total over, like this is the only thing I think I can potentially get invested with. And I'm still going to wait and I'm going to see what FanDuel opens it at, because then there's a cash out opportunity that awaits itself. And like, honestly, Elliot, I wouldn't be that surprised. I feel like you would be, but like, if we're looking up here and we're going into the chase and Connor Zilisch finishes 8th in the regular season, I'm not stunned by that. I really am not, dude, because this guy's going to get more points than most people on road courses. And he was also, even take out the wins of the Xfinity Series, he was consistent every time he ran out there. So like, I think he's got like a shot, man. I really do. I think he's going to be like somewhere between an 8th and a 15th place car most weeks. Maybe there's going to be some tracks he'll struggle a little more. He's a 24th, 25th place. But then I think that road course prowess and getting 55 and then, the second place points after that, if he can't win those races, which he likely doesn't against SVG, I think that could be enough to actually get him in this dance. I'm ready for it. I'm here for it, bud.
Man, I just don't even know if your cash out opportunity is going to be that valuable. I don't think there's a chance he's top 10 in points.
I would need him close to 30-1, I think, to have a cash out opportunity.
You see even just how, like we saw it with Chastain, the guy who we'll talk about next, and we can kind of transition into his 33-1 number, longer odds than his 25-1, which makes sense because Chastain was a guy who his championship 4 appearance was on a nice little Hail Melon wall ride at Martinsville.
Yeah.
Otherwise he would not have qualified. Trackhouse, they've had their times of inconsistency. I have no doubt Zilisch can go run top 5 at all the road courses. I think there's some days he runs. There's, just about Homestead. They've been terrible. Homestead's last race. So
okay. Yeah. Oh, that's
some of the places that Trackhouse does not have the speed. You're not going to see Connor Zilisch overcome that, because if Ross Chastain can't overcome that, I don't think Zilisch can overcome it either.
Didn't Zilisch win Homestead last? No, he didn't win a Homestead. No, continue.
There's going to be too many clunkers out there for him to have any sort of realistic chance. Even if this was 45-50-1, I'm still not even really thinking.
Are you serious? This is the generational future. What are you talking about?
I just don't think Zilisch has a shot. You're only angling for that cash out, and look at where that got you with Cole Custer.
Okay, all right. Well, we were dang. You leave Cole Custer out of this, Elliot. We were dang close to having a cash out opportunity. We were there twice in Daytona. Don't you get me started on Cole Custer now.
And you want to talk about Custer? He could affect some of those O'Reilly Series markets. Going to run a couple of races for SS Greenlight, and he's won races with something, DGM or something like that. There'll be a race or two you could be on Custer for a little top 5. But it's either of these Trackhouse guys, 22-1, 33-1. Chastain over a full season, we've never seen it, and it's to the point where I don't know if we will see it. I don't think he's a guy who can contend over a full. This is a full season points. I keep saying full season.
Yeah,
but it's because you have to.
Yeah.
With how the points set up, he's not going to be in that top 3, 4, 5 in the first 26, which means you are really going to have to ball out in those last 10. And the upset opportunity is far less, which is why you see basically everybody else down the board now a lot longer odds, because their chance to win the title is all but gone.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I just think Ross doesn't have the consistency, specifically at some of those last tracks, with the championship track being what it is, right? In Homestead, a place he's been absolutely dog water. So yeah, I'm there with you there on that. I do want to say, though, I mean, we did an entire news section. You didn't even have Colonel Custer in there and his recent Xfinity news. My goodness, disrespect on this program. Unreal.
Yeah, I just missed it. It must have been like, maybe it was announced on like Friday morning.
It was intentional.
And we already did it. Yeah, but it depends on where those tracks are.
We're on the Haas we're on the Haas team newsletter right now. We get their newsletter every single week, Elliot, and you don't even show them the respect to include their news in the newsletter.
You get the newsletter. I don't see that, but it must.
Well, Eric gets it and he forwards it over to me sometimes, so I don't get it every week either. But I get it when I get it sent from Eric.
All right. Well, shout out Haas Factory team for that.
Yeah,
you're not winning the championship this year. You're not on the board here. I don't even know if there are odds on Cole Custer. Probably 200-1, but we'll see. You'll take the cash out on that, won't you? The 45-1 for Alex Bowman and Ty Gibbs is just essentially a safety, to where neither of these guys have a shot at a title in this format, but because they're a Hendrick car and a Gibbs car,
yeah,
you can't have them at too long of odds.
Yeah, yep. I'm there with you. If we can get something, I took a little time. We'll talk about it in the best bets episode in between. I think the Clash and the 500 will do it, and go through all these markets that we do have future wagers on. I did take a Ty Gibbs season win total. I got him a nice plus 140, so I like that. I don't hate him at 45-1. Like again, like if we're shooting cash outs here, that might be an opportunity, but definitely not Alex Bowman though. No, thank you. Not with the contract year.
Yeah, but hey, I tell you what, the way that the 48 team is, last year they weren't able to get a win, had to sweat it out at Daytona, ninth in the points. So that's in a half decent spot.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of these guys. Chris Buescher, one of them as well. As we'll talk about it, a 50-1. Again, we'll transition into it because why not? Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and Carson Hocevar all at 50-1. They were Hocevar and Wallace were 30-1. Buescher was 40-1. Gibbs and Bowman also at 40-1 previously. The guys who victory lane, they're not going to go out there and win 10 races in a year. They're probably not even going to win 3. But a guy like Buescher, a guy like Bowman, even a guy like Wallace now, the consistency and the points to keep yourself in that top 10, top 12, and give yourself kind of a fighting shot there. Be within that 60 to 70 points of the leader where you have some really good races. They have some bad ones. You can really start sniffing the top of that board.
I'm going to be honest, a 50-1 on Bubba is not bad value, Elliot, when you consider where we had him in our power rankings. We had him above people like Logano, or at least maybe right behind Logano, but ahead of Reddick, right? And Reddick's all the way down at 18-1. We had him above pretty much that top tier right above him. 50-1 for Bubba. Let's wait to see what FanDuel has out there for him. But I think that's a way to get invested with the number 23. And I know both of you and I were interested when discussing him previously. So yeah, I think that's not a bad number. I'd rather bet Bubba there, just based because I see him as a top 10 driver, rather Chris Buescher, which I see him kind of around that 12 to 14 fringe, and Hocevar. I'm good.
Yeah, it's the same with Zilisch. I just don't think a title run is there. Getting his first win, sure, I see that for both Zilisch and Hocevar, but again, just a title future, we're not getting it.
We need a Zilisch win total, please give it to me.
1.5. You taking the over or under?
Oh, I'm not betting at 1.5. I'm not betting at 1.5.
Last year it was our generational future. Was 1.5 at the?
I want a half. Give me half. I will drink.
Even if it's half a win minus 190, you taking it?
I'll wait for a boost.
I feel like if it's half, you're probably going to see the over half a win. Maybe minus 175 if they're
I'll bet it. I was about to say minus 175 is the line. I'll bet it at minus 175, and because I feel like you're gonna have to do it, and you're gonna have to do it quickly because as we've seen with these Trackhouse guys, those lines are gonna move and they're gonna move fast, and all the fun has been taken out of betting them in the futures market already. So I'm trying to get where I can. Still waiting for a season win total for the team as a whole. That'd be cool too.
Yeah. Hey, if it's 1.5 and the under or the over half a win is minus 175. And the under half a win, what would that be? Probably like a plus 130, plus 135.
Yeah.
I didn't consider that at an under.
I would. No, I can't. No, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Hopefully the books put something out and we don't have to talk hypothetical numbers here. Don't have a win total. We went through all of them last week that are out in the books. Go back and watch that as well. The extra long shots. Couple other notables here. Kyle Busch, 2-time champion, is 60-1. Brad Keselowski didn't have any room on the graphic for him. He's at 65-1. They were both at 50-1, so their odds get a little longer as well. SVG went from 150-1 to 100-1. Surprisingly, a little bit better here, or a little bit worse. No, not surprisingly, but it's not odds that you want for either of these guys or anybody in this bottom or anybody behind here. Even the cash out option is not going to be as attractive as we want it to be.
No, because last year when he got in the playoffs, you're seeing 26s, 22-1s, 20s-1s at some point. So the cash out could be there. It's going to be harder for him to get in the playoffs. So his odds should have not got shorter. That makes absolutely no sense from Caesars here on that one. A lot of books were actually pretty hesitant to actually put him out too before the championship announcement because they didn't know what was going to happen and how this playoff format was going to work. So definitely scared out there. If it was 151, I might still consider rocking and rolling with it, right? But it's just going to be way harder now, and I just don't think you're going to get a strong enough cash out to make it worth riding for 6, 7, 8 months at this point. So I'm just kind of out, and I'm pretty bummed about it. Actually, dude. I'm pretty bummed out about it.
Yeah, and it very well could be an absolute nail biter all year. Last year, if you use the chase format from last season's finishes, SVG is in by 2 points at the 16 seed over Ty Gibbs. So, of course, he's going to expect to run better on ovals. They're going to expect to not have those 30th place days very often. But if the oval stuff doesn't get there, you got to win all the road courses and you got to get a little bit of help and consistency, which again, they hope they have to make it in there. But I feel like it's going to be a sweat where we're going to get down to those last 5 races. SVG will be about plus 20. Some guys really breathing down his neck. And it'll make, if you're riding this ticket, it'll make it really, when you get in late in a soccer game, tied soccer game or whatever, they call it over England, they call it squeaky bum time.
Yeah.
It'll be squeaky bum time toward the end of the regular season for SVG potentially to make it even into the chase.
Well, and it's not where we want to go. It's not like we got a bunch of road courses lined up towards the end of the regular season, right? Watkins Glen this year is the absolute opposite side of it. So no, I do not like the setup at all that's a great point, Elliot. I do not like how this regular season, I mean, going Daytona for a guy who a bit inexperienced, not bad super speedway racers, got a shot there, right? As soon as well as everyone does, but the August schedule just does not line up for Shane Van Gisbergen like it did once upon a time when we had road courses in suitable times, like, Watkins Glen, which is a pretty northern place in August because it's going to be cold in May and ruin the whole weekend. But, what do I know, Elliot? I just, what do I know?
The top outcome here, if you're betting SVG for the title, is he wins all the road courses. He does really well on ovals, at least by his expectation. You don't have that squeaky bum time at the end of the regular season. He's 10th, 11th place. He does all right in the ovals in the chase. You still have the Roval in the chase. He wins the Roval, maybe gets up to 5th or 6th in points. Then maybe the books kind of sort of start to sweat a little bit. But you need basically everything to go right to even get to that point.
Well, yeah, right. And that's the exact thing. And it's like last year he was even more threatening because he had all the playoff points, right? He had all the playoff points he had acquired. He's not going to have playoff points this time. He's not going to be that far up in the standings where he's going to get that boost. So, yeah, that is your best case scenario. That is what you're hoping for.
Yeah, and hey, very well could happen. But, I've got a lot of faith in the guys on the left side of the sport than I do on the right side to take home a title. Another market you can get invested in, if you wouldn't mind pulling it back up, my friend, is top threes. That's also from Caesars to finish top 3 in the standings. Of course, kind of sort of in the same order as it was. Larson, the favorite at plus 130. You got Hamlin and Bell plus 175. Blaney and Byron at 2-1. Between these 5 guys, I mean, you probably have 2 of your top 3 in the standings, if not all 3 of your top 3 in that 5. The numbers, though, just like the title numbers, not my favorite. That's a steep, it's not a minus money juice bet, but it's close enough to juice when you count betting it in January and writing it until November. May as well be juice at that point.
Beggars can't be choosers, but a top 5 market, even if it's steeper glasses of juice, I'm willing to do it because it's so hard to honestly project who's going to finish top 3. Like, to me, I mean, I'd say skip the top 2 tiers. Don't bet Larson. Don't bet Hamlin. Don't bet Bell. And you start betting Blaney and you start betting Byron, and then you take a shot at Briscoe, right? That's really, I mean, those are the guys that I think. I had Briscoe, or I had Blaney number 1 in my power rankings. I had Byron number 2. I had Briscoe, I think right around 5. So those would kind of be the shots I take. Like Kyle Larson, he should probably be the favorite. Like, he won it last year, and he would have won in this format as well, as you alluded to. So yeah, I get it. It's just plus 130 is a pretty, like, I've rode around a plus 130, plus 140 ticket on Kyle Larson for 8 months, for 9 months, and to have it not cash, I did in 2024, and it did not feel good. So I just don't want to go back down that road, Elliot.
Yeah, if you have this market, I almost would love, I know they do this on like Bet365 sometimes, a yes or a no. Say the yes is plus 130, and then the no is some crazy number. And we'll bet DGen markets. We were saying last week we would love a market for we'll make the chase.
Yes, please.
We would bet that, and I know a lot of you guys would as well. But yeah, a little yes/no here would be fun. But for now, it's just the top 3 yes. Elliott, Briscoe at 3-1, Logano and Reddick plus 475, and then you kind of reach the end of the guys who you think can realistically finish top 3. I mean, even for Logano and Reddick, it's going to be pretty tough. You're going to have a good regular season followed by a really, really impressive 10-race chase. And even then, who knows if you have enough points from that first 26 to get up there, especially with the inconsistency that, especially from the 22 and 45, we can see. For the 9 and the 19, like we talked about in the title odds, we can see it. but 3-1 for the realistic guys, 5-1 and down for some of the other more unrealistic guys. The numbers aren't our favorite here, but it's a market to talk about, and some you can maybe kind of sort of think about if you want to ride a small ticket for 9 months.
Yeah, I absolutely agreed with you. And that's really it. Like, I can't see myself like Bubba Wallace 15-1 again. I keep kind of going back to him, but like, I think that's a bit of an overprice. I think there's some value there, but yeah, I feel like as a whole, this top three market's a really tough one. Do you see yourself getting invested at all, Elliot? Like, I honestly, as it stands now, while I could talk myself maybe into a Briscoe or a Byron or a Blaney ticket, those are probably the only ones I could really consider outside of like just an absolute sprinkle, maybe on Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, Bubba at 15-1 is not bad. Yeah, maybe the 12, maybe the 24. I don't hate it for the 9 or the 19. I don't see it for the 22 or 45. If you want to talk the long shots, Zilisch at 6-1, no chance, 0% chance, not going to happen. Chastain at 10-1. I mean, as much as I kind of talked down Ross in the championship odds, if he can get in at a decent seed, I can see him really ripping out a really good couple of races, and it could be a deal where it would be the kind of situation. It'd have to be the perfect storm of your champ is the champ, second place is like 3 or 4 points behind a really close title battle, and then Ross is like 75, 80.
Yeah.
Behind. But just one of those chase deals where you have your two that are really close, and then everyone else is kind of behind. You know, almost the best of the rest, even in third. Chastain could be a guy who could end up in that type of deal where you're far enough behind that if everything kind of stayed even, you'd be 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, but you end up in third just by sheer luck.
I don't hate that at all, especially because you look at the second half of that board. Who's the only driver in the playoff format who had made it to a championship for? It's Ross Chastain, right? So like he is one of the few drivers that we know has the upside for it. I think you're having the same conversation with yourself about Ross Chastain as you are with Zilisch. It's just a bit better of a number, right? It's a bit better of a number, maybe a more tolerable one at 10-1 rather than 6-1 for the rookie.
Yeah, and like you said, Bubba Wallace, probably the only guy otherwise to think about because he's at worst the 1A at Trackhouse. Bowman's the 4 at Hendrick. Gibbs is the 4 at Gibbs. You know, he may not want to admit it, but he's the 4 at Gibbs. I don't think Buescher and Bowman, they're good enough if you give me a top 10 market, I'm really interested in them in a top 10 market.
Wow.
They're not even close for a top 3 market.
We're really being choosers tonight.
Yeah, but we're breaking down the odds, but also it's like, hey, this is what I'd be interested in this guy in. It's
yeah.
Even though it's not on the board, I mean, we did it with the power rankings. We'll have that come out in article form as well. If you don't feel like going back and watching the whole episode, the article will be out in the next 10 days or so. But we're handicapping these guys as we would want to say, hey, this is what I would bet this guy on, is essentially another way of saying don't bet the top 3, but just a more interesting way to say it, in my opinion.
No, I absolutely love it because especially like if there has been and will be anyone from NASCAR, from these sports books ever watching this show, like I agree. I will bet more I will give you more money to bet NASCAR at your shops if you give me more of these markets we're talking about. And like that, like maybe would I bet a little less, G5 futures? Yes, absolutely. Probably it's got to come somewhere, but like still probably overall, I'm going to get more invested with the future markets as a whole. Like I'm probably still going to bet G5 conferences. That's just how your boy rolls here, Elliot. That's
the beauty of betting, is whatever you can bet, you go out there and you will bet. And we got a lot of different things you can bet that we talk about here at In Between: racing, football, entertainment, golf. We got special Discord chats you can hop in now, give us some giveaways. You get our picks, everything like that. Link down in the description for that. A couple other markets we want to talk about. We don't have full screen graphics for that. Thanks, Seth, for your work pulling those up there on the second screen. Start off with some standings, matchups, and groups. I really liked the standings matchups last year. I bet on some that were far more degen than this. I'm sure we'll get more as it goes on. But right now we got 5 matchups. First one is the Chases. We've compared them a lot tonight. Chase Briscoe is -110. Chase Elliott -120 against each other. Again, maybe a little juicier than I want. I'm probably leaning Briscoe here. I'll take the wins over the consistency in terms of standings finish. I'm taking the 19 over the 9.
I mean, just look at Chase Briscoe and what he did last year, Elliot. Like, it's hard not to get excited for him because also not only the wins, but the top 5s. Chase Elliott had 11 wins. You look at what Chase Briscoe did first year, Joe Gibbs Racing Equipment, 15. Like right there, that's the difference, right? Like you look at top 10s, pretty similar, 19, actually exactly the same. But yeah, I would take the guy with more upside there. I think that one's kind of close, but the fact that you're getting pretty close to even money, minus 110, you're getting actually Chase Briscoe, who should not be the underdog. I think you do. I think this is a potential going on my card. I already have a lot of Chase Briscoe exposure. I bet him heavily in the win total market. But I also like him here against Chase Elliott. Specifically Elliott, I think we wait on this too. I think the popularity of Chase Elliott continues to make him bettable in this market. And Briscoe, maybe we get him closer to even money by the end of the offseason here.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. That's a good point. Most popular driver going to get some out there. We weren't in the betting scene when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was driving. I don't even know if there was a NASCAR betting down there, but Dale probably affected the odds a little bit.
It was at sports bars and in the back rooms of going into alleys and stuff. It was around. Trust me, my friend. It was around, but definitely a little more backwater.
You got to go to the back room of Jimmy's down in Kannapolis, and you can get some money on Dale Jr. All right, next standings matchup: Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. Larson the favorite here at minus 130. Denny Hamlin at even money plus 100. I like that a lot more than I like Larson, especially at those numbers.
I do. I still have my same concerns about Hamlin that I've voiced pretty much the last couple of weeks, that with everything he's faced between the championship ending, his tragic loss of his dad in his parents' house, and then also just the trial, I'm kind of off of him, so I won't bet this, but I do not think he should be even money against Larson. No, I think it should be closer to, almost like the exact, if they gave me the exact same line as the Briscoe Elliott, where it's minus 120, Larson minus 110 for Hamlin, I think that's more fair. So maybe there's some value there on Hammy.
Yeah, I like the even money, and I understand that factoring in early in the season, but I think that almost will flip by the end of the year to where Denny Hamlin will once again be more motivated than he ever has been. This can be a deal where Larson is ahead of Hamlin for the first 30 races. Denny goes on a run and is able to get out in front of him right at the end. That'll cash my even money ticket. Whether I want to ride it all year, I don't know yet, but definitely I personally like Hamlin over Larson here. Next matchup, a couple here in a row that are coin flips, minus 115 apiece. William Byron and Ryan Blaney first up. And this is one of those full season consistency over playoff chase consistency. Blaney would be the guy probably over that 10 race stretch. If it was especially in the playoffs, and especially if Phoenix was the end all be all, it's definitely Blaney. Byron, for all his summer slumps and everything, was in a really good spot and was potentially one Ty Dillon away from being, or no, he made the championship for because he won Martinsville. See how quickly I forget how good William Byron can be in the clutch too, going against Ryan Blaney, which makes this the perfect minus 115 apiece matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Blaney beat him in 2024 and 2023, but William Byron has been top four in the points and specifically in the playoff format the past 3 seasons. So it's a no bet from me. These are guys 1 and 2 in my power ranking, so I want no part of it, but really appreciate the number and the offering regardless.
Yeah, I agree on this one. And another one, again, cool matchup because these are both guys that are very comparable. We've been comparing them all night. Alex Bowman and Chris Buescher, minus 115 apiece. Neither of them have a prayer to title. Neither of them have a prayer, 6, 7, 8 win seasons. They never have. But they are those consistent drivers that benefit the most from moving to this format where points matter. Points matter for them. I think Chris Buescher the last 2, if not 3 years, misses the playoffs, even though he would have been in the top 10, 11, 12 place in the full 26 race regular season standings as it was at the time. They're both guys who are going to benefit from this. Who do you think comes out on top?
That's another one that's like, who do you bet, right? Like they're like a mirror image of each other. These guys are in the same tier. I got no shot at this one, man. Like I expect Chris Buescher. I think he has more win equity still than Alex Bowman out there. So I would lean towards Buescher. But you look at someone like Bowman. Do you really want to fade Alex Bowman? I mean, this is the king of consistency, right? This format kind of helps him out, right? He's a guy who let's look back at his finishes the last couple of years here. Elliot just in the playoff standings, 13th, 9th, 20th, 16th, 14th, 6th. This guy's been consistent, right? You look at Buescher though, not as consistent, but still someone kind of right in that same tier. Obviously misses last year, but aside from that, he's just been sensational when it comes to his final ranking. 17th, 7th in the next gen era, 21st. So like less consistent, but still has top 10 upside. So it's just a no from me, dog.
Yeah, it's tough to pick, even as someone with the support of Bowman that I generally have in terms of this particular bet. I can very easily see Chris Buescher ripping out a really good year and making this for now a no bet for me. Another fun one here that this one's a little more spread out and for good reason. Bubba Wallace is the favorite at -150 against Josh Berry at +120. Berry was one of those guys that would not have been in had they used the chase last season, even with the win at Vegas, would not have had the consistency to even make the top 16, while Bubba Wallace not only had a great regular season, but had a really great, most of the playoffs. I mean, he got eliminated after the round of 12 or after the round of 8.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, whenever he had really good runs for a great portion of that last 10 races, that would put him in a position for Josh Berry to really need to ball out to beat this 23 if he's anywhere close to where he was last year.
Elliot, I don't want to say this lightly. Is this the generational wager? Because I just don't see a lot of outs for Josh Berry to come out of this one, right? Like Bubba Wallace, way more win equity. I think that's safe to say. Josh Berry is going to get tanked in the points every single freaking road course. Like Bubba Wallace is going to have his idiotic mistakes, right? That he's going to come down pit road when he shouldn't, or he's not going to make second half adjustments as he usually doesn't in some races. Like maybe he loses his cool on a road course with Alex Bowman. Like who knows? He's going to have something stupid happen to him, I'm sure. But Josh Berry last year, 1 win, 3 top 5s, 8 top 10s. Bubba Wallace, 1 win, 6 top 5s, 14 top 10s. I mean, that's a pretty big difference, Elliot. That's a pretty big difference. Plus, there's some other races in there that Bubba Wallace could have potentially won, I think, more easier than Josh Berry. I'm really struggling not to just lay multiple units on this, like as we're sitting here.
Yeah, if you're betting the Berry side of this, you're hoping for major regression from Bubba Wallace, which I really don't see happening. You're hoping for Josh Berry to have major improvements, which is more likely than not, I feel like. But to get ahead of where Bubba Wallace is, it's going to be a tall task.
If there was going to be a season that Bubba Wallace was going to be dog crap, it was going to be last year, right? The year Reddick was dog crap when they're going through the lawsuit and everything else. Is
new crew chief to adjust to last year for him, but that worked out way better than better rather than worse.
Yeah. I mean, Booty Barker, we love you, buddy, but sometimes time is time, right? And so
there's a reason Tony Uri Jr. is the crew chief for Amerivet and not Hendrick anymore. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm just I'm there, man. This is, I think, honestly going to be on my betting card. It's just a matter of, do I wait to try to find a boost? Do I bet it now? And how much do I bet it? Those are more the questions I'm asking myself, rather, do I bet it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And kind of like I talked about with Chastain potentially getting that top 3, you're almost going to need a perfect storm to happen. You're going to need Bubba to probably not win a race, to have some of those sort of regressions, and you're going to need Berry to like win Vegas again, win New Hampshire. I don't remember if it's in the playoffs or not, but win New Hampshire, win Martinsville, rip out some really good top 5s at other places. And man, even then it could still be close because the road courses, I don't see consistency. Being the 3rd to 4th Penske car, Penske's got its tracks where it doesn't run really well. This is a matchup that even with that juice of -150, I like the 23 a lot in this one as well. And that may be one on our betting cards in a couple of weeks that we revisit.
The question is, I want you to answer for me, Elliot. Looking all these matchups we just went through, if you had to bet one and your life depended on it, that you got the outcome right, which one are you betting?
I mean, life depended on it. It probably is the 23 over the 21.
That's how I want to bet, baby. Like my life depends on it. Every single nickel.
I'll put it top 3. 23 over 21 is my number 1. The 11 over the 5, I like that at even money. That's my 2. And then I'll put the 48 over the 17 as my 2.
I knew you had the 48 on there, you son of a gun.
Hey, if you're going to go down, you may as well go down swinging. All right, so the matchups are going to be fun. Again, hoping for a lot more of those. Last year, I bet a Noah Gragson over Zane Smith. It went terribly, but I was able to bet it, which is really cool. Also, a couple of group bets. Caesars Group A. Larson is +240. Hamlin +250. Bell +270. Byron +300. Who you got?
You know me, I don't bet groups, so neither. But if you're asking me who
theoretically, it's not. I don't think either of us are putting these on our betting cards. But
yes,
in theory, who's your favorite of this group?
The favorite is Hamlin for me, but at the same time, Byron's the best value at 3-1. That's how I'll put it that way. So I actually no, I'll take it back. Byron is my favorite in this group at 3-1. He's a value. I'm not betting it, but I do like. Maybe I'll bet it. I don't know. That's kind of nice. That's kind of nice, actually.
Who's a long group bet? All right, so you're growing as a NASCAR better. Yeah, Byron's not bad here. I've talked a lot of crap on Bell this offseason, but even Bell here if he has the type of season he wants to have, he may as well go out pretty much win the title, which he probably have to do to beat these three guys. But in any case, that's kind of your title winners bet. Group B is some guys that, of course, they want to be in title contention, but not sure. Blaney's your favorite, plus 145, and a steep number for good reason. Chase Elliott at plus 240, Chase Briscoe plus 310, Joey Logano plus 550. I kind of feel like the lean here is Briscoe plus 310, but again, he's going to have a really good year and be able to knock out Blaney to have a chance at beating these four.
I think you could almost like arbitrage this a little bit, Elliot, where you bet Blaney for plus 145, because actually not a bad number against these drivers, right? It's really not. But then I think you hedge yourself with a Briscoe plus 310 just enough that if something happens to Ryan Blaney, you still make your money back. Obviously, you're going to lose some of the value if you bet two of these drivers, but I almost think that's how I would recommend people do it. Bet heavily on Blaney for maybe 3 units, and then maybe put a little one sprinkle, maybe 7/10 of a unit sprinkle on Briscoe, just to kind of hedge yourself a little bit if that runs.
Yeah, I don't hate that strategy. In terms of Logano, he could be 20-1 to win this group. I'm still not taking that number. I just don't think Logano has the outs.
I'm not taking Elliott either. Right? Like at plus 240, that's a terrible number.
Yeah, probably not. You're really going to need 2020 Chase and not the Chase of the next gen to show up here for that to happen. And I don't like it. All right, a couple other markets here. Winning car number, winning manufacturer. Let's start with the winning car number. Your over-under is at 18.5, minus 115 on either side of it. So you get a lot of championship favorites early on in the numbers. And then some, 18.5 is kind of your place to split it. 0 through 9 is a plus 225. 10 through 19 at plus 185. 20 through 29 at plus 190. 30 plus is at 5-1. Yeah, 30 plus off the top of my head, there's not really anybody that's going to be a ridiculous contender. 20 to 29, you get your Logano, you get your Byron. It might be kind of it there. Forgive me if I'm missing somebody obvious. 10 to 19, you get Denny, you get Briscoe, you get Chris Buescher if you think Chris Buescher makes a run. Blaney. That 0 to 9, of course, you get your Larson, you get your Chase, you get your Daniel Suarez if you want him there. I don't think I'm touching any of these numbers particularly, but need to have the winning car number over the season championship.
Yeah, I'm sure our buddy Rod is out there just foaming at the mouth seeing these numbers, man. So I would love a 10 to 29. Like, how much would you bet on that? Like, I would absolutely hammer that, because like I can't bet the over under 18.5 because Briscoe and Byron to me are such threats that I don't want to go against those guys. And even I guess we could lump Bell in a little bit lesser, but I don't want to go against those guys. But like if I could have a group where I could have Hamlin, Blaney, Byron, Bell, and Briscoe, just basically a fade of Chase and Larson, I would absolutely do that, which I think.
Yeah, that'd be a juicy number. But yeah, that's basically what it is not Larson and not Chase winning the title, which is very simple to break down. But you can
arbitrage it, right? You can bet the plus 185, you can bet the plus 190 if you want to do that. But again, you're just kind of taking out some of the value and kind of some of the fun of it too, right? If you're really doing that, it's not as much fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But hey, I know plus 30 for Bowman looks great. Plus, I know Rod's going to be taking it to get that Ty Gibbs and Carson Hocevar number for him there. Obviously, he's not going to take that. But winning manufacturer, the last market that we got to talk about tonight, and it is flip-flopped from what it has been for years. Ford was always your favorite at Phoenix. You had Penske Fords take it 3 years in a row. They're the long shot now. They're at plus 360. Chevrolet's at plus 115. Toyota's at plus 140. I don't love either of the numbers. The only Ford that really has a shot's Blaney, probably, unless I'm forgetting somebody really obvious. Chevy and Toyota, Gibbs and Hendrick, you kind of flip-flop them there. I'm leaning the plus 140 for Toyota with your Denny, with your Bell, with your Briscoe as a potential upset. I like that trio more than I like Larson, Elliott, and Byron.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's more outs with Toyota. I think Blaney's still at plus 360. It's not but why would you bet the plus 360? We would just go bet Blaney's outright, right? So there's no value. 25
is the Blaney championship outright, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's no.
Unless you're really, really betting on Logano or somebody there. I don't think that.
There's just no value in the Ford number. Throw that out. So then you're looking at Chevy versus Toyota. And again, it's just a wash. I can't cut, but I think there's more outs with Toyota, but you have higher ceiling guys in Blaney or excuse me, in Larson and in Byron than you do in most of the Toyota camp too, right? Like that's the issue. Is like I would take those two guys versus just Denny Hamlin, but then you put in Chase Briscoe and Bell, and we get some more out. Tough one. I'm not a manufacturer better usually most weeks, Elliot, and now on a season-long basis, I'm not at all. I'm sure our guy Full Tank with Phil, who has it on his card every single week, he's definitely probably locking into this market, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, there were races. I mean, maybe a quarter of the races last year, I would look at this manufacturer market and put a bet down on it because there'd be value. Here, I just don't think you have that value over a full season. And that's kind of the trouble with the full season markets is you have, there's lesser of a pool of guys that can win the title in this format. So your odds aren't going to be quite as good.
Yeah, and that's just why you have to keep your head on a swivel, right? There's different ways to get invested with different drivers. We talked about some of those tonight, the groups, the match bets, right? The winning car numbers, the top 3 markets, really like,
we talked about last week, the season win totals. That's a great one.
Exactly. Trying to find cash out opportunities on futures, right? So there are different ways you can bet different drivers, but it's just, you have to pick and choose, right? You have to be choosies when it comes to these futures. I really like to find my couple favorite and I just smash them, right? And that's pretty much what I do. I'm going to have some sprinkles in the outright championship market, but as far from a betting strategy, like last year I hit on every single season win total I had. Most of every single one of those were 2.5, 3, sometimes up to 6 and 7 unit bets when it came to Connor Zilisch, right? So those are the markets. Those are the bets I'm really looking at. Out of all the ones we talked about tonight, Elliot, what do you think are your favorite bets that you will potentially be adding to your card? For me, it's definitely the Bubba Wallace -150 over Barry. That's one I'm definitely adding. It's just a matter of how much. And honestly, like I'm going to explore some of those groups that we talked about, right? Maybe arbitraging a little bit on that side of things. And then I'm going to definitely give a couple long stares to some of those, different ways to get invested in Trackhouse, whether I hold out for a season win total for the team or get invested with the Zilisch 22-1 or even the Ross 10-1 for a top 3 that you shouted out. I don't hate. Those are some of my favorites. What about yourself?
Yeah, in terms of any Trackhouse number, the only one I'm considering betting that we talked about tonight would be that Chastain 10-1 for the top 3 in the standings. I'm not touching Zilisch until they put out a season win total.
Yeah,
I got to go back and add more season win totals to the card. I love the standings matchups. Like I said, I think the Bubba over Barry. I'll probably throw a little suckers bet on my guy in the 48. I like Hamlin over Larson, like I said. So yeah, the match bets are a lot of fun. Like I said, maybe some of those top 3s, but that's a tough market to get.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't have anything on anybody for a title yet. So I really have
to
start considering that, throwing out a couple of who's going to win the championship.
I just want to float it out there again as we're kind of talking about it. Like, I am probably going to find some way as well to invest in McNasty this year still, whether that is on a 200-1 championship ticket, hope for the cash out. We're going to wait to see what FanDuel puts out there. Or if that's like, he would be someone I'd love to get in a standings bet. I would absolutely hammer him and likely be an underdog in a lot of situations. So just another driver to kind of keep your head on a swivel for that. When we come back, hopefully for our best bets for the future market, that is something I've locked in.
Yeah, I wonder if they would do, I feel like the most likely, if you're going to see McDowell in a matchup, it'd probably be McDowell, Hocevar. McDowell, that'd be a good number on McDowell because it's a really high Hocevar.
Yep, I would take it. I would probably, I would, especially if we're getting some plus money action, I would take it. Even if there's like I know it would probably be super juiced, but like, again, fictional markets out here. Spire team total over half a win. Like, how much would you put on that?
I'm probably hitting the over. I might not hit it anywhere.
What if it's -200? Would you bet it -200?
No, I was thinking maybe -130.
Oh, you're not getting that for -1. I bet you're paying -160 at least. I would maybe hit it at -160.
I'd think about it at 150. If it's -1, I don't think we're going to get it, but I think it at -150 is too far. -135. You could be in it even with Suarez at Daytona or Atlanta. Could cash it. The other two could.
Good point.
All right,
Good point.
As the offseason, the last couple weeks of the offseason go on, next week, of course, is the Clash. Going to be a traditional show, I don't know about in the rear view. There's nothing to look back to, but breaking down everything with Bowman Gray Stadium, giving you our best bets. Then in the week between the Clash and Daytona, we'll start to finalize some of our full season bets. We'll throw them out there, parking garage prop style, lock in what we got going on, and hopefully break down O'Reilly and Truck Series season longs as well. Do a full, here's our season longs, rock and rolling, and lock it in before the Daytona 500. Probably going to try to do a pair of shows that week. There'll be some weeks where we do a couple of different shows, or like a full show and a micro pod. It's going to be a lot of fun, just like all the fun that's going on here at In Between Media, Seth.
Yeah, man, we are really looking forward to it. Going to try out some different types of content this season. Hopefully, some more short form content, whether that's in VOD or whether that's in a YouTube short type style. Also, a big announcement coming next week on the show as well. Working on some really cool things to actually improve the model quite a bit, which we were already, 63 units in the green last year, best betting year of my life, thanks to that thing. But working on some cool improvements with that, and a very special announcement coming next week with you on the show. So looking forward to that, man. And just thank you for everything you do, Elliot, to kind of, continue to fuel us here and do a lot of the back end and legwork for this program and in the entire motorsport section of the website and the YouTube channel. We appreciate you for that, and appreciate everyone just riding along with us, man. It's been so much fun this off season. We're going down rabbit holes, offering different markets that don't exist and talking different things that are just super fun to speculate on. So really appreciate that, and everyone getting invested with some of the bets that we're talking about. Again, IBT Racing family still rocking and rolling for you right now. Free to join. Just go over to the Discord in-betweenmia.com/chat, and you can join that for free right now. We just want to chat with everyone. It's so much fun to sweat out these races when we have tickets in play. So really looking forward to doing that with an even bigger and better community this go around, my friend.
And the fun part is this is the last week we have to talk about hypotheticals because the racing starts next week. We'll be riding on down the back road to Bowman Gray Stadium to break down the Cookout Clash next week. We will see you then on the back road.